Okay, the time is 5:30. Again, this clock is a few seconds fast, so if you're keeping up with the one behind me here, it's a little bit quick. This is a combination meeting tonight. We're going to shift gears in the middle. It's a zoning board of adjustment hearing, and it's also a regular town council meeting. When I posted this for the hearing, I posted the newspaper to say that the hearing was at 6:30, but then decided we want to start the meetings a little earlier on an ongoing basis, so I did the agenda at 5:30. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a little reverse order on the agenda. We're going to go through the regular agenda first, which will take roughly an hour, and then we're going to shift over and have the hearing at 6:30, which is legally what we have to do since we published it at 6:30. So for those who are here for the hearing, I apologize. We're going to make you listen to a lot of other town business, but
do we need to make a motion for that?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so first thing we're going to do is roll call for quorum. I, the mayor, will do that. Mike Jaffe, the mayor, is here. Mayor Pro Tem Fowler.
Here.
Councilman Anderson.
Here.
Councilman Kendrick.
Here.
Councilman Bryan.
Here.
Councilwoman Hibbs.
Here.
Okay, we have a quorum. Okay, I'm going to, if you would stand and join me in the pledge and invocation. I'm going to do it because I don't want somebody saying the mayor doesn't know how to pray, because usually I give somebody else. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please bow your heads and join me in prayer. Father God, thank you so much for the town of Poetry. Thank you for all the citizens who live here and who live around us. Thank you for the rain that you brought to the town of Poetry recently. We desperately needed it. Very appreciative for that. I'm very grateful for each of the people sitting around this table for their patience with the process, patience with me, patience with the items that we discussed, because we're still breaking a lot of new ground, and we certainly, Father, need your guidance on that journey. Please be with us tonight as we have the conversations we're going to have. I pray that they glorify you and just kind of guide our footsteps and what it is that we say, so that it glorifies you and your kingdom. I pray all this in your Son, Jesus' name. Amen. Okay, council, please make sure your microphones are on. Remember to speak into them. It helps those who are listening online, but also helps us with the recording when we start doing minutes and things. Okay, so again, we're going to take item B and push it to the 6:30 time slot. So we're going to jump straight down to item C, Charlie, items of community interest. In no particular order, I want to thank the Christmas, I'm just calling them activity volunteers. We had a number of people that met up here a few days ago and started talking about organizing our Christmas events, the tree lighting, the decorating contest, and they've just added all kinds of stuff here. Let me read the letter from Debbie Amard. The Poetry Country Christmas will be on Saturday, December 13th. From 4:30 to 6:30 in the evening. All details and final plans are being worked out by our Christmas volunteer group. Plans are for a tree lighting, Christmas carols, hot cocoa, cookies, Santa and Elf. I heard Santa's going to be wearing overalls. That's cool. Collecting items for charity and a live nativity. And the caroling is going to be, I know at least part of it's going to be from the Poetry Christian School. They're going to send their kids down here to carol, so that should be fun. And this year, I guess we're going to have our first ever parade. That'll be fun. We'll be encouraging folks to enter whatever they'd like to decorate and drive or ride in the parade: trucks, 4x4, tractor, car, bike, horse, mower, golf cart, wagon, trailer. Just whatever you have that goes down the road, you can enter. Each entry will be judged by all the people by donating cash. Whoever receives the most cash for first, second, third will be receiving a prize. Sounds like a quinceañera. All the cash is going to our selected charity. We would like the mayor and town council to consider entering the parade with either all together or several or individual entries. Could put your names on an entry. When a town has a parade, the town officials are usually in the parade. Well, that makes sense. So guys, you need to all be ready for Saturday night. Also, we have a country Santa coming. He's willing to ride in the parade. Maybe he could ride with y'all, with us. Please talk about it, see what you think about each. Debbie and Mark. So again, thank you to Debbie and Saturday, December 13th, 4:30 to 6:30. Amy, I think you were there and there were some others. So thank you for everybody for taking that. You know, my background is in operations, not party planning. So you just don't want me to put on the Christmas event because it's just not my thing. I'll run businesses for you, but I am not into, if I did a party, it'd be pretty dry. Okay, next on the community interest, thank you to Kaufman County Precinct 3 Commissioner and road crew. You know, we're continuing to do good work on the roads and right-of-ways and things. Next up will be Green Meadow. Possibly will be scheduled this week. We're going to redo the front part there at 1565 and then pothole the rest. So looking forward to that. After that, 323 is going to get redone. So look forward to those improvements. Thank you to Hunt County Precinct 2. Dave Monroe and his road crew over the last couple of weeks, they've replaced two big under road culverts that were collapsing. We had 3 spots in our roads where the road was basically collapsing. And boy, they knocked those culverts out in no time. And all we had to pay for was the culverts, a little rock, and some asphalt when they get that done. Thank you to David in the back for helping with the sound and video. Thank you to Scott, Laura, and Zoe for helping every meeting with setup and tear down. Thank you to Rockwall County Judge Frank New. I think I mentioned at the last meeting that we've been invited to join the Rockwall County Roads Consortium. So we will officially have a say in the Outer Loop project. And even though we only have a little bit of our ETJ in Rockwall, we care a lot about where that Outer Loop ends up, right? We've discussed that over the years. And so we now have a seat at the table and we'll be attending those meetings on a monthly basis. And then finally, thanks to Secretary Ann and Teresa for taking the books. We did a little trial book loaning library thing, and I guess it just didn't get a lot of use. So they took it upon themselves to find some places that we could donate the books. They got permission from the person that gave us the books to do that. And so some went to a nursing home and some went to the Genesis Center in Kaufman. And so they did that on their own time. The town didn't pay for it. And I appreciate them doing that very much. Next, we're going to jump into D. David reports, and Tom is going to give us a little update. We recently received an official letter on the Bishop Field Municipal Utility District TCEQ permit, and Tom has dug into that and gotten a little bit more information, so he's going to give us a little update on what's going on there.
Okay, I guess first, you know, we've been saying now for, I don't know, over a year, well, we were going to have to face this eventually. Well, eventually hit. And according to this letter that it was sent to the lawyer representing the Bishop Field owners or developers owners. And anyway, it was instructing them that they need to go ahead and file a notice in the newspaper, which in this case is a Herald Banner out of Greenville, stating that there's going ahead with the issue of for TCEQ of the approving the MUD. And so the first step or next step is to run the newspaper ad, which was run the 18th of October, and then again the 25th of October. And then after that, there's a 30-day period starting, it says, with the publication, which I presume is the 18th. And so 30 days after that, if we either have to file for a contested hearing, or it's going to be approved. And if we file for a contested hearing, then the TCEQ will hold off, and then the contested hearing is almost like a trial. It's legal, very legalistic. And so this involves depositions and interrogatories and statements, witness statements, things like that, which is pretty expensive because it gets into lawyers. And so the other option is to have a meeting to discuss a settlement and not go to the contested hearing. But that decision has to be made within the 30-day window, which started the 18th. So 18th of October. So anyway, Mike passed it to me. So the lawyer for TCEQ, her name is Mindy Cohn. I called her and we discussed it for about an hour. And she, of course, she's representing the owners, and her emphasis is on getting a negotiated settlement. And she pushed real hard, saying, you know, we can negotiate on all these different issues, and as opposed to going to the contested hearing. And she said that she's done over 300 of these mud contested, 300 of the muds, and there's never been one that's not approved. And she said a contested hearing, you can do it, but of course, these are her words, is that, you know, you're not going to win. And so she said, your best bet is to negotiate. And so we need to, if we're going to negotiate, we need to give them TCEQ and give the Bishop Field lawyer notice here real quickly. And I told her about the meeting today. I said, I'll call you after the meeting, which will be tomorrow, and we can discuss this. But I'm one council member, and we're not able to have a vote because this is just a discussion item. But if we're going to do negotiation, that has to be decided by the council. Or if we're not, and we're going to go to contested hearing, that also has to be decided. So at this point, I don't think we can do a decision here tonight, but we can sure discuss it and get everything out on the table so that everybody understands what's happening. And by the way, the mud is tied to the development. They're one and the same. You only do the mud if you're going to do the development, and they can't do the development without the mud. So even though this hearing is about the mud, it's really about both. So anyway, when I called her, and I did make a note of what I talked to her about. And by the way, the 30-day period is November 17th. And so anyway, when I called her, and she's with Coates Rose, and anyway, she basically, she went over all this about how we're not going to win a contested hearing, which is her opinion. And then she said in situations like this, that the developers like to come in and offer financial and other considerations to the towns or cities to get the mud approved without going to a contested hearing. And she said it's a very legal process with an administrative judge, and it is in Austin. It's not here. So we would have to go to Austin, and we would have to take Mr. Berman to Austin to argue for our case. And she said their preference is to have a meeting to discuss this and get it on the table so we can decide if we wanted to go to contested hearing, knowing what they're putting on the table. So, I mean, to me, I said, yeah, it makes sense. We'd like to know what you're offering. And I did tell her, I said, here are the issues that really bother us. And one of them, of course, is roads, because, and she didn't know this, is that I said, on your map, it doesn't show, it only shows the two main parcels, but there is two sections that are strips connecting out of Bishop Field, and one of them goes north into 2434, and the other one goes south into 2440, which then connects into 2434. I said, the roads are in terrible condition, but, you know, with the heavy trucks, that's one of our concerns. The other one is water runoff into Renfro Creek. That's a serious one because there's an enormous amount of water coming out of the mud. The mud is both a water treatment plant and a sewer. It's not one of the, it's both. And then the other one I talked about was the fuel storage tanks. And she said, what's that? So I told her about the tanks being on site, and that they're unleaded gasoline and aviation fuel, and both. And that there's a process for removing, testing, and all this. She said she's never heard that. Well, I said, well, that's one of the issues we'll raise, is that if go forward, we think something has to be done with the tanks. On top of it, then there's the services, emergency services, which are not only fire and police, but there's EMT and things like that. And then there's the county services, and then, of course, the schools. Now, Bishop Field, if you're looking on the CAD drawing, is about a third of it would, the kids from there would go into Quinlan schools, QISD, 2/3 would go into Terrell. So both Quinlan and Terrell have a stake in this. Probably Quinlan more than Terrell because Quinlan's already at capacity. But both of those would have a stake in this and what happens. So I said, all those are issues we want to go over. And I told her, I said, I'm not the only one that's got issues. There's others on the council. They'll probably have other things that they'll want to raise. And she understood the Open Meeting Act. She said it could be myself, one other person, and the mayor, to not violate Open Meeting Act, and then anyone else that we wanted to get involved, which is the county officials, school officials, emergency services, things like that. So anyway, if we're going to proceed, we have to get going quickly because we've only got about 2 weeks to really make a decision as to we want to go contested hearing, which involves forms that have to be filed in writing. It's not email, it's in writing in Austin with TCEQ. So then it'd have to be done and then sent FedEx. Or if we're going to negotiate, then we've got to hear and they've got to hear us, and we've got to hear what they're willing to put on the table in terms of money, really. And so anyway, it's now not just something in the future. This is something we got to deal with really the next 2 weeks. We've got some decisions to make. Well, we've got to get information first and then get decisions to make. Ms. Cohen said she wasn't aware of the fuel tanks and she was under the impression we had property tax. And I said, no, we only have franchise fees and sales and use tax. And she says, you don't have property tax. No, we don't. So she said, well, that's typically one of the things that they get into, which for us, it isn't a situation. So she didn't know that. Where we ended the discussion was, as I said, after we have the meeting, which is today, then we'll be able to get back with her and say, do we have some agreement to proceed with sitting down and going over the options to put on the table. And while this is an information item, not a vote, so we can't have a vote tonight. And Mike is aware of all this, but we do have to make a decision very quickly about, are we going to even have a meeting, first of all, and it would be with her or her and others if Coach roamed, and I don't know who else. And then secondly, if we're going to have the meeting, then we still got a timetable set for about 2 weeks. We got to decide if we're going to do the contested hearing or the trial. And of course, Mr. Berman, and she asked who our lawyer was. I told him Dave Berman, and she says, oh yeah, we know Mr. Berman very well. So anyway, he's been involved in some of these, so he understands the process. And I think he could give us some very good advice on this. So, what do we do and what are our expectations if we move forward? So anyway, she told me, and by the way, Ms. Cohen, she's, I'm guessing, looking at her resume, probably in her mid-40s, she said she's been involved in over 300 of these MUDs, and she's never had one that didn't go through. So anyway, now we got some decisions to make as a council, which Mike's aware of. And so we've got to discuss what we're going to be doing. And then if we have to take a vote, well, it'd have to be, unfortunately, that it'd have to be in another meeting. So I told Ms. Cohen that we would be talking about this, and I would try to get impressions from the rest of the council and the community, and then get back with her via phone call tomorrow. Now, I did write up my notes. This is taken from my notes because she called me back the day after we got the letter. I called her that day. She called me back the following morning, and we had this discussion. So I sat down and wrote out my notes in a hurry so that I didn't get confused and say something out of line. So anyway, the council has my notes, and also so does Ann, the secretary. And so anyway, and I presume they're public records, but I don't have any problem. And so I guess at this point, we'll need to open it up for discussion. And Mike, you have your views on this.
Yeah, well, so, and as Tom said, I don't want to get into trouble with not using items on the agenda properly. This is intended to be a report. So if somebody on the council, no citizen input or questions will be provided or given the opportunity for it. But if somebody on the council has just a sort of a succinct question for clarification, you can ask it, but we're not going to debate it in this setting, and we're not going to make a decision in this setting. As Tom said, there was a little bit of a timing issue with getting the agenda and all put together and this showing up. And so, as Tom said, we may have to have a 15-minute meeting where we all gather up and make some quick decisions. I want to get a little bit more input from our attorney, right? And Tom has now got us some more information, and we'll make a decision as a council, you will, because I don't vote as to what we do. But I think based on what Tom said, you know, the writing's a little bit on the wall here, and so we need to just deal with that reality and go from there. Dale?
The question I have, do we have a conceptual site plan yet of where that road on the south, where is it going to come into on 2440 and on 2434?
Yeah, we actually have from the Hunt County Central Appraisal District. Those two plots were shown when the land, the two big plots were purchased in 2021, I believe. A month or two later, they came in and bought these other two section strips. So they own 4 strips, and it's shown on the Hunt County. Yeah, and I have those drawings showing from Hunt County. Now, the drawing they provided didn't show those.
Yeah, I'll provide, when we put this on an agenda for a meeting, a short meeting, I'll provide all the backup material, because we've got some stuff from years past that was provided by the law firm that shows sort of we have the CAD stuff from the appraisal district, but we also have some internal documents they provided us that show some possible layouts.
So we don't have those 2 strips from them. They didn't show on their map, but we do know from the Central Appraisal District map. So it's just the law firm.
I just think we need to look from the standpoint, okay, from the point they hit a Poetry Road, we're going to be looking at, I think, for help, is that distance between that point and a farm to market road.
Well, and not only that is to be clear, that the one going on the south entrance, it is in Poetry.
Right.
That strip, and then it gets 2440, which is in Poetry. So the one on the north side
is out of it.
It's in the county. So it's not really.
And we've confirmed it's in the county, not in the, but we have a little bit up there on 20.
Well, we have the Central Appraisal District maps.
Okay, so let's wind that down, because we're scary close to deliberating, and I don't want to deliberate. This is a report only. So let's
Just
stop for now.
we can get the information.
We always have the option of putting it on the online forum if we want to have a discussion like really quick. But I will provide you with, you know, all the material that we have from over the years as part of the preparation for that conversation. And we'll talk about what decisions we're going to make then. Okay.
Mayor, I've got a couple
Yes.
discussions I just want to do. 2 weeks for to say whether we wanted to go to a hearing or not.
November 17th.
What's the time frame if we were just wanting to go to a negotiation table?
Same thing.
Yeah, same thing. We've got to tell them.
So my interpretation is, if we were to go to in the negotiation stuff, I would think we would like to maybe sit down as a council and go over some priority if we're going to make a list of things for negotiation. Obviously, we already know what number 1 would be, but we'd probably want to look at the overall project to see what other negotiation things we could make sure we cover.
Yep. Agreed.
Okay.
Okay, moving on to regular agenda. Item F is in Foxtrot. We'll do them in the order that they're on the agenda. First up is discuss and take action as necessary on Texas Municipal League fiscal year 25-26 invoice. So at the last meeting, the council approved the workers' comp component of this. I guess when Teresa got this and handed it to me, it looked like it was an invoice, but it really wasn't an invoice. It was just giving us a heads up. So the council has already approved $1,075 for the worker comp. So what's in front of you tonight is to consider approval on the balance, as I put in the note here, of the other items. So the cyber liability, general liability, error and emissions, so on and so forth. So any discussion on the invoice from TML for our annual insurance.
So the balance is the 6,668?
Well, no,
That's less
Mine
the,
the balance is
Mine was
$5,593.90.
That's what we actually voted on. But that
Oh,
was just
okay,
one
okay.
portion.
Yeah,
This
in-
will be the total.
So the 1,075 is what,
we approved that already. Look at the note, Tom, under the agenda item on the agenda.
okay?
It's, yeah, it's got the math on it.
so we've got 5,000.
Look at the italics there. I broke it out. So the total of the invoice is $6,668.90. Leaves a balance after you take the 1,075 out of $5,593.90, which is what's on the table for consideration tonight.
I see.
Because you've
Okay.
already approved the first part. We don't need to reapprove it.
Do we
So
have any?
input from the council?
I have none.
I don't have any.
Now, one of the things, and we'll open it to the floor here in just a second. One of the things that I am looking forward to, our cyber liability, which is gone up substantially. I think it just about doubled from last year because again, they've had so many claims on it, so many people getting hacked and taken over and all of that. We do have our relationship up and running with TrackerSoft, a company that we brought into. They are basically monitoring our computers, our internet. They're doing all the intrusion detection and all of that. So they're keeping an eye on things now. So I think that's something we may bring back to the council later in the year and discuss, do we still need that policy? We're not required to have that policy. It just makes sense to have some kind of protection. But, we're a small town. We got 2 little laptops. Our stuff is all in the cloud. I mean, the odds of them wiping us out like they would maybe the city of Rockwall, I think are a lot less.
Yeah.
So we need to talk about later, but for now, we're going to pay it. And if we decide we want to do something different later, we can do that.
Well, this is for the total year, correct?
That's correct. And if we cancel in the middle of the year, I'm sure like any
They'll
other
give a
insurance, they give you the balance back.
Um,
Okay, anything else from council before we go to citizens? Okay, we did have somebody signed up for Bishop Field, but my apologies because that's a report. We don't have citizen input. You can certainly make a comment during general comments if you want, but just know that the council isn't able to respond. We can only give factual information on that, so. Okay, so first up, on this topic, Tara Sinkovich, and then Simeon, you're up next. Okay, Simeon and Tara pass, thank you. Oh, and Jonathan Blake, you're way down at the bottom for some reason. Okay, wow. Thank you for your confidence. Okay, any other discussion, council, before we ask for a motion? I ask for a motion.
I make a motion to approve the Texas Municipal League insurance invoice
For
Okay.
5,593.90.
for $5,593.90.
Second.
Second from
Second.
Tom. Okay, so I have a motion to approve the balance, $5,593.90 from Councilwoman Hibbs and a second from Councilman Anderson. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you, council. Sure TML will be happy. Moving on to regular agenda item 2, discuss and take action as necessary on solid waste ordinances and agreements. Doug is going to lead this conversation. Let me say a couple words before we do, and we have the gentleman from Blackjack here tonight who's going to stand up and talk for a few minutes and answer questions from the council. We've had this relationship for a while now, as everybody knows. We went to a single source for everyone connected to the town. You may not live in the town, but if your driveway touches us, you're subject to this. And in my mind, and maybe some of yours, it just makes good sense to revisit these things every once in a while and just make sure they're working right and everybody's happy and all of that. So this is a little bit of an early peak, especially since a number of the council members are new and weren't a part of setting this up originally. It's a chance to just ask questions, interact, and I think Dick is going to tell us that he's going to be back as he was last year, talking about his cost of doing business and all of that, because they do have the right under the contract to make adjustments based on the consumer price index, which apparently always goes up. So anyway, he's going to talk about that. But Doug, you want to take over and lead our conversation, please?
Sure. Well, I certainly appreciate Dick being here. It is one of the conversations I did have with the mayor of kind of introducing ourselves, because I know you know some of the council, but not all of us. And so I kind of wanted to be able to take this time and kind of go over a few things, just so that way we can get our hands wrapped around some of the stuff. I have reviewed all the ordinances associated with your company, and of course some others with the roll-offs and things like that. So looking through, and one of the things that I wanted him to be aware of too, with new council on board and that sort of thing, we always want to make sure, and the word's almost getting wore out, but transparency within the community. And so there's sometimes, because I've always sat on the other side of the table, especially a year ago when y'all were introduced into the town, the fees and things like that. So one thing that I would like to mention is that anytime there's some movement going on with fee structures or something like that, that we would like to be involved in ahead of time, if you will. Simply the fact is, we want our citizens to ask us a question about, fees, and hey, all of a sudden my fees went up, what's going on? We just want to be aware, have the answers for people that are going to ask us, and we want to be open with our fees structure that we have, especially if there are some things coming down the pike as that CPI increase and that sort of thing. So, but again, thanks for being here. As far as Blackjack, me personally, I haven't heard anything, which is a good thing. And obviously you serve us, which we have no problem. In fact, it's good stuff as far as we're concerned. And I guess the CPU discussion will come. CPI, I'm sorry. That discussion will come next month.
Yeah, Dick is going to come back December or January and talk about that.
We appreciate that as well, because again, this is part of getting the community up to speed as well. One of the things that I wasn't quite sure of as well, as far as openness there, I don't know how well that we establish some of his fee structure, the company's fee structure, whether it's on a website or they can provide a link, maybe if any citizens were wanting roll-offs or dumpsters or whatever that.
You mean price of service?
Yeah.
They do that now.
Yeah, come on up, dude.
Well, while Dick's walking up, let me just kind of rattle a couple of details here. So as I said in the notes on the agenda, so we signed the agreement with Blackjack back in December of 2023, and it's a 4-year term that expires December of 2027, right? So there's time left on that agreement. And then we have a non-exclusive agreement with a 2-year term. It's got a 1-year renewal. So it's a 1-year term and then a 1-year automatic renewal for dumpsters, because we do our roll-offs. We do have, I think, at least one other company here in the town that's set up with the town to do roll-offs. But anyway, so that's kind of where we are. We're in the middle of the contract. We're not at the end of the contract. We're in the middle of it. And let me also state for the record, for citizens here and maybe listening to the recording, this is a very important source of revenue for our town. I know some of us, and I'm like Terry, I'm a big enough man to admit that I was wrong. This has worked out very, very well in my opinion. And it's also taken a lot of pressure off the back office, off the secretaries, because Dick's company is awesome about getting our money on time, accurately, with reports. I mean, it's just working like a clock, which is not what it was doing before this, when we had lots of different people involved. But this is a really important, we don't have a city property tax. And so this is one of the big fundraisers for road repairs and things. So I know people won't like, including me, to be told and all of that, but by doing this, we're bringing at least a little bit of money into our town, which is translating into road repairs and other small improvements. Dick?
All right. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, Dick Demeen with Blackjack Disposal. We're at 5770 Highway 34 South in Quinlan. So we're almost exactly at the midpoint of our contract for the exclusive commercial dumpster and residential collection, and approaching the end of the roll-off dumpster service of the non-exclusive. Although I think right now there's, the other franchise has expired and had not been renewed yet. So I think we're kind of technically the only ones doing it. But other roll-off companies are welcome to come in if they meet the franchise requirement. We feel like we do a great job servicing the residents. We try to be responsive. If there ever is an issue that comes up, it typically is solved the same day or sometimes the next day. And we really appreciate our partnership. So we're thankful for all that, and we appreciate y'all trusting us with this. I know it was a little bit contentious at the beginning, but I'm glad that it did work out well for both parties. With that said, we do, as part of that contract, have a annual pricing adjustment. Last year, it was about pretty close to 3%. I think it was 2.9%. I kind of took a peek at it. It looks like it's tracking much closer to 1% this year. So unless there's something that really changes drastically in the next month or so, we'll be back up here asking for a 1% increase for the services starting in January. And I'll be glad to answer any questions that I may have.
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
When you send out your invoices, in the beginning of our relationship with you, you had the franchise fees listed on there separately from the trash and the container fees.
Okay.
I would like to see that again
Have we
on
combined them now?
invoices. Yes.
So they're not
They're
itemized?
not itemized.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I would like to see those itemized. The main reason is because the citizens need to know how insignificant that amount is. And though their price increases, the town doesn't get any more money.
That's correct. Right.
So,
Right.
Well,
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, it's not the town, it's the cost
Yeah.
of doing business,
Right.
landfills and trucks and other things.
right.
Any challenges, Dick? I guess, I watch your guys. I love your technology, although sometimes it messes my wife up because she's like, they're coming. And I'm like, no, they're just going down 1565. They're not really here yet. It's like anytime you're within a half a mile of the house or something, you start getting text messages.
Yeah.
And
It's
so-
not 100%, that's for
part.
sure.
But it's okay. It works. And I do love, one day I didn't put my can out. I actually got a picture of my non-existent trash can to prove that I didn't put my can out, I guess, because people claim that you did. It had a little date stamp and time, and I'm like, that's right, I didn't put the can out. So I love the fact that you guys are on top of that. And I know when I encounter your people driving the trucks and hanging off the trucks, they're always for me at least, they're very cordial and professional, and I don't see them tearing up roads. They seem to be using the right size trucks and pretty much on time. Again, it just works, and I like that. I like the fact that,
Yeah,
as Doug
that's
said,
right.
we're not hearing from a lot of, but I do appreciate your point, Tracy, that people need to understand, one, it's an important funding source for the town, but the amount we get is fixed. It's been the same for the last 2 years or more.
Right.
We get what is it, $7 or whatever it is. I don't know. It's not a lot.
650 a month.
$6.50.
Okay, 650,
Yeah.
yeah, and then a little bit more on roll-offs and dumpsters and things. So,
Per cart, yeah.
per polycart, yeah.
Mhm.
Remind me again, do you pick up trash bags if they're sitting beside the canister?
If it's an odd, like if you have a child's birthday party or
Okay.
Christmas or something like that, we will. But week in, week out, we really want everything to be in the cart.
I was gonna
Okay.
say, if you're a
I
habitual
wanna make
offender, like you
Yeah.
need a second polycart, but you're
Right.
too cheap to get one.
No, I saw it today and I was just like, okay.
Yeah. So if it's a one-off, then typically the guys will get that picked up, and it's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And then we also have a once a month where you can call in and get extra trash picked up. If you have like several bags or a second polycart that you don't normally put out, you can call in and get put on the route for the extra pickup, the bulky waste pickup.
And I also saw that you had, for large electronic, items. So does that mean like TVs and,
It shouldn't be electronics. It should just be larger items.
Well,
You
people
don't
have the
pick up
ability,
TVs?
Well, they can't go in the landfill is the problem.
can't they bring them to your yard? Don't you have
We do have an electronic drop-off.
right, but other items too, if people want to take it to your yard,
Household
they
hazardous waste items.
Right.
That would be
And the pizza.
insecticide,
paint, insecticide,
weed
right.
killers, things like
it's
that.
not commerce, is it?
Yeah, but no, it's right up here on Highway 34. But
Yeah, so
Okay.
if they would let us know they're coming, that'd be great, because we're not generally open to the public, but that's something that we'll do for the residents of Poetry. And
You
if
need
they,
to tell robotics clubs to come down there and snatch up some of that electronics equipment.
Tires, you figure
so
out
we'll
what to
just
do
make
with
sure some
tires.
in attendance there if we know someone's coming so that we can assist them getting
So
unloaded.
that's electronic plus household hazards.
Household hazards.
Hassle, that's the key too.
That is-
Well, that's the other thing too, just to introducing, again, to the new folks here. And again, I always feel like when we, municipal government and contractors are working together, we're all in the same team. So, and it's a two-way street. So that way too, if there's ever things that we can help you with within the community, we want to certainly have you reach out to us as well and let us know so we can try to fix what we can as well.
The other thing I'd throw in is Dick and Blackjack have been very good about supporting the town when we do the cleanups and things,
Mhm.
right? And we'll have one here before too terribly long. I'm thinking of restructuring it though, so it focuses more on cleaning up the roads and not people's barns and garages. But I do appreciate their willingness to bring, roll-offs out and let us fill them up with stuff. I said under my breath earlier, tires. Is there any way to get rid of tires legally that you're connected to?
Not inexpensively.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know they did a roundup in Hunt County about 4 months ago, and I mean, they had tractor trailers. We all took tires.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they had thousands and thousands, but
Yeah, they'll do that in Kaufman County as well from time to time, and it is like one time they did it and they had to turn it off. It was supposed to go from like 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. and by like 10:30 they just said, "No more."
there's a lot of tires in poetry.
Yeah.
We need a way to get rid of them. Okay. Any other questions from council on Dick, and then we'll go to citizens.
I just want to say we really appreciate everything you do. It's been the best trash service by far.
Wow, well, great. I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah,
That's always nice to hear.
yeah.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Where'd you get the name Blackjack?
That's a common question we have.
Playing cards.
That's a cool.
You want to bet on it?
So, just in a nutshell, when we first started the company, my partner Tim and I were I had him on speakerphone. And I was just doing some stuff in the kitchen with my wife, and he's looking through trees on like Google at different lists because we thought it'd be good to be environmental, like oak sanitation or maple this or whatever. Well, there's a blackjack oak.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And he said, "How about blackjack disposal?" And I'm like, no. But then my wife chimed in and she took his side. She goes, no, that'll be good. And so they teamed up on me and overrode my.
So it's because of the tree, not
Yeah.
gambling.
Yes, because of the tree.
That's
right.
I know.
Yeah.
Okay.
A little suspicious.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you, Dick. We're going to let citizens chime in here.
Thank you, Dick. I appreciate you.
Well, these are all. Okay, we'll go backwards this time. Jonathan Blake. Well, 3 minutes. He's not going to talk that long.
No, I won't. Jonathan Blake, Poetry, Texas. I just wanted to thank you for the work your company does for us, for the town. I really appreciate it. Y'all do a really good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Simeon?
Pass.
Okay, Tara Sekovich?
But thank you as well.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate, it has been phenomenal service. I love the text messaging notifications. I love the way you do billing. It's very simple and easy. In fact, I want to get that program if I can. But then also, I have used occasionally people ask about recycling, and although recycling is, double the money, just logistically, it's very expensive to do so. But I have taken advantage of their Terrell Convenience Center, and it is rather nice. It's on the Highway 34 there. You just drop it off, and you don't have to sort. They don't take glass, but they take, most everything else, all the plastics and metals and things. So that's nice. And have also used the toxic waste one as well. There's a fee for that, but when you have it stacking up and you care about the environment a little bit, you do that. So that is also nice. I have used just recently the roll-off service, and that additionally was very good. So just shout out to you. You're just doing a phenomenal job. And I think people need to realize if they're going to, yes, the $6.50 per polycart, it does, I think it's 40% of our general budget, which is significant. But when you look at, when you explain to me that surrounding towns, pay a little bit more because we're getting kind of that bulk buy, it's really not that much more. So because we get a discount as a group, it's really not that much more than surrounding areas. So that's really nice as well. So thank you.
Okay, any other discussion by council on Blackjack Solid Waste? Okay, so we're not taking any action on that item. We'll move on to, and again, thank you, Dick, for service, and thank you for coming out and joining us for a little bit. It's not rude to leave. You can leave if you want. Some of us would leave too, but we're not allowed to. Okay, moving on to regular agenda item number 3, discuss and take action as necessary on TxDOT, Texas Department of Transportation, Town of Poetry street sign install resolution. I'm going to let Councilman Bryant talk about this, but basically what is up for consideration is a resolution that was included in your packet. I'm sort of calling this a letter of intent because I think that really is the spirit of what it is. It's a letter of intent back to TxDOT saying we are interested in being considered for this program and,
Kind of like we do with the COG.
in some details. Do what?
Kind of like what we do with North Texas COG.
Yeah, we're not committing to spending money yet. We're just, saying we're interested and tell us more. So Dale, you want to fill in the rest?
Okay, we've gone through and completed all the surveys. We've figured out 45 intersection signs, 11 T intersections, the S curves, 22 of those, and the culvert markers, 170 of those. And so we've turned that over. Understand this is a federal program. The money comes from the federal government down to the state level. State says, well, what do we do with this highway safety deal for small communities? They turn it over to TxDOT. So TxDOT manages it. They come in and survey everything that we've given them. They're going to tweak it, change it up some, probably find some areas that we didn't look at. And then they put it out to third-party contractors. What I've been told, I've asked several times, what is this going to cost? And of course, if anybody's in construction business right now, the last thing you want to do is give a price off the cuff because you're going to be wrong. So they're real hesitant about that. But I'm looking at it thinking, I can't see this thing running over $50,000. They have a budget of $250,000 for the
50,000 being what it's going to cost them to do it,
for them to do it.
not our part.
No, that's kind of where I'm kind of putting a number. They have $250,000 in their budget for these small community things. Last year they did not spend all their money. They had $200,000 last year, and they've been told to spend it or use it or lose it. And so they're very. In fact, the engineer called me today, was wanting some additional information. I said, well, let me call you tomorrow after, because we're having a meeting tonight, because we need this sign basically because I've been dealing with TxDOT. They just want to know that the town is behind it. That's really what this is saying. And but I have asked them, I said, what is the chances that we're going to have to pay anything? He said, it is very, very, very rare that we would ever have to come up with any money. But he said, very, very worst case, they cap it at 10%. I mean, and I can run through the numbers if you want to hear it. So technically, very, very worst case, get all of our signs installed at state level standards, we could be looking at $5,000. But he said it's rare that we'd ever have to go there. He says, because there's money left over from last year. And plus they appear to have plenty of money this year. And the state, Austin, has money because it all comes to Austin first. They pulled back some. So if the project goes over budget and we don't have enough money at the district level, they can go to the state level and grab some more money. And not only that, okay, we're whatever. And well, we say, okay, we won't put these signs up or something. We're always going to be able to kind of tweak it. So I'm real comfortable that it should not. I'd be very surprised if it cost us anything.
Well, and as I said in the notes under the agenda item, this is not a commitment to spend money,
Right.
Town of Poetry money at this time.
Correct.
So all we're asking for is the council's approval to send this resolution, which was,
This keeps us in line.
right, it was reviewed by council, so our attorney has approved it. He's okay with it.
So
Um,
Dale, is this the 250,000 budget? Is that distributed throughout the regions?
The district,
The-
yes.
The districts?
Yeah.
So is the districts have a cap on how much they're gonna get, or they just?
Yeah, they
try-
got 250,000.
Every district?
Next year.
Every district? Okay.
The Dallas district, which covers Kaufman, Rockwall, Dallas, Collin, all of those, their budget for the little local stuff
Mhm.
is 6.5 million. So you can kind of see where we're out of the, this is just Hunt County.
Right.
Mhm.
We're not talking about the Kaufman County. Kaufman County will be next. That's the next project. There were some things, people moving around. The area engineer was a temporary guy for area engineer was promoted. Didn't really know anything about this federal program. So I said, well, I'm gonna go do Hunt County and let them get somebody in place and we'll come back and do it later. So once I get this put in place, I'll start on Kaufman County.
Now, I think for council, but not citizens, I don't think I bothered the citizens with it. I think for council, I may have given you guys a copy of this advanced, and boy, if you can understand this, you're way smarter than I am. I mean,
There's a lot of figures on there.
there's a lot of attorney time into this
Yeah.
dude. I mean, it's like all kinds
Yeah.
of wherewithals and just in
And
case. and-
TxDOT will handle that. not
Right,
us.
yeah, we are not signing this until
Right.
somebody explains it a whole lot
Right.
better than I understand it, but that would be the next step. So anyway, the opportunity is to take the signs that we had printed about a year ago and just really decorate the town with some nice signage. Now, I will say, as kind of a tangential point to this, I met with one of the TxDOT Paris guys the other day, their sign guy, and I was pointing out to him that the Kaufman State Highway signage in Poetry has improved, in my opinion, quite a bit. If you notice the stop sign when you leave here, it's a beautiful stop sign. There's reflective tape on the pole, and it's got a big sign that says cross traffic doesn't stop. So if you're not from around here, you know, do not pull out or you're gonna lose a door. And anyway, so I was challenging the Paris guy. I said, can you do that on the Hunt County side, which would be 1565? Because none of the signs up and down 1565 through Poetry have anything nearly that nice.
I don't
so-
even think they're stop signs, are they?
He's off working on that, to see. I'm trying to play the two districts against one another. It's like, hey, these guys did it. I mean, surely you can do it.
So if we
And
were,
just to add to that, what I included is intersections at 1565. Okay, so we start running into issues of cost overruns. We can flip that off to the district to do because that's an FM road that it's already their responsibility.
Right.
So we play around with that.
Anyway, signs are a good thing, and I like the idea of marking the culverts, because again, as new people move out here, they're not kind of aware of how to drive on our roads, and they pull off and bam, next thing you know, they're hanging over a 3-foot culvert. Stuck,
so
so I think,
on these traffic signs, i.e. could be considered traffic control devices.
Mhm.
Is there a fine print or whatever that we could possibly even get, traffic signalization, like, you know?
oh, wait a
caution?
minute, you're not talking red lights, are you?
No,
Okay,
What do
that's-
you
we're way
No.
too,
no. I knew I'd get something thrown
we
at
don't
me.
need a stoplight.
I thought I felt it, but no, I'm talking about if the possibility for the amber flashing light there on Dollhouse Road and 986, and because we have had conversations about people having wrecks and running the stop signs and things like that. So if there was a possibility through this funding of sort, and maybe the fine tune, we could at least.
Well, our better opportunity, just my experience on that, is probably to consider it a safety issue. I mean, if you make it a safety issue, they get on it pretty quick, because that's like a whole different bucket, and that's a really rapid response team.
And
It'll deal
everyone
with that.
needs to know, any intersection that you're familiar that there's been an accident or
Fatality.
death, or, we need to hear about that,
Yeah.
because next year when you're doing this, anytime you have lots of accidents or bodily injury, those intersections move to the top of the list. And so that, like 986 and Poetry Road, we've had several
Mhm.
And that's
Okay.
why we also added the Ts, because we've had a lot of people that, because they didn't realize it was a T intersection, ran, busted somebody's fence. So we put all those in there.
Okay, so again, what's on the table is, approval to sign a resolution. It's a, letter of intent. Let's jump over to the citizens, Tara Sinkovich. Okay, Simeon White,
Pass.
okay, Jonathan Blake,
Couple of questions. Jonathan Blake, Poetry, Texas. I know you're not prepared to answer, but food for thought. Are you adding stop signs at any intersections?
Every intersection in Hunt County
Okay.
that's in the town.
You may need to check with David on it, but I believe you'll have to pass a resolution for each intersection to make that stop sign a legal
Yeah,
stop
that's-
signs.
quite possibly.
Yeah,
So
that's why
that-
we're
so
going
that-
through Texas.
Same with speed limit.
Yeah, but you still have to have it on paper. So if somebody runs it, they can issue a ticket because otherwise it's a sign, but they have no legal recourse unless the town
Right.
adopts them as a legal. That's all.
Yep, so
Thanks,
noted.
Jonathan.
Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, council, any further discussion before I ask for a motion?
Make a motion, we accept it. The
Okay, I have a
resolution.
motion from Councilman Anderson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Councilman Kendrick. Okay, all in favor of approving the resolution? Unanimous. Thank you, council. And thank you, Dale, for all your hard work. This
Yes.
is drug out longer than I wanted it to, but you know, the higher up in government you go, the slower the wheels turn. So thank goodness we're only at the state level.
It is a safety issue, so it's.
Yeah, it's life
important.
safety, and that's why we want to address.
Well, and again, for most of the people who lived out here for a long time, we kind of know how to deal with the intersections, but we got a lot of new people and
It's the
people coming to
newbies.
weddings and other things that don't know the rules and they drive on the wrong side of the road and don't stop and all that. So, yeah, let's do, we're gonna run over a couple of minutes, but let's do, number 4, discuss and take action necessary on the auditor's engagement letter. Citizens, this was not in your packet. This is considered, I guess, sort of confidential of sorts, although the amount is here, so you're not missing anything. But I started to publish it in the citizens packet and then realized, wait a minute, that's probably a no-no, and apparently it is. So you don't have a copy of it, but basically what we're doing is we're preparing for the audit for the fiscal year that we just closed out. And as part of that, we have this letter from the auditors with their proposal, along with a cost, assuming they don't find any issues, and I doubt that they will, of $5,450. I think last year it was just a tiny bit over 5,000.
Yeah.
So it hasn't changed materially. We have in the past considered, bidding this, but I can remember, if my memory serves me right, that some of the quotes we got were like double this and triple this, $10,000, $15,000 for the same work. And these people have done pretty good work for us. So I think this year I'm going to try to get Secretary Teresa a little more involved, because last year we did the audit and we ended up like a couple dollars off and got into a little bit of a headbutting with the accountants. It wasn't a big deal. It wasn't material. It was like hundreds of dollars across the entire budget, but I'm going to try to get her, and with our QuickBooks migration to QuickBooks Online, now the accounting firm can connect up and see. They can't manipulate our books, but they can view the data more easily now. So I think that's going to help them get through their process quicker. So any questions on the auditor's engagement letter? Okay, hearing none, we'll go backwards again. Jonathan Blake.
Pass.
Okay, Jonathan passes. Simeon White.
Pass.
Simeon passes. Tara Sinkovich. Okay, wow. Thank you for your cooperation. That's awesome. Okay, let's go ahead and do general comments, because then we'll be done with the regular meeting, so we can just wrap
Mike,
up.
Do we need to take a vote?
Oh,
Oh,
sorry. Yeah. Wow, I
I'll
got
make a
so
motion.
excited that the citizens weren't.
I'll make a
Okay, my
motion.
apologies. Yes. Do I have a motion to approve the auditor's engagement letter?
I'll make the motion to approve it.
Okay, I have a motion by Tom. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Yeah, that would have been a big miss. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, unanimous. Thank you, council. Yeah, thank you for catching that. That would have been embarrassing to have a meeting just to approve something we're supposed to approve. Okay, so as I was starting to say, let's go ahead and do general public comments now, and then we'll be done with the regular agenda, and we'll finish up with our hearing, which we'll shift over to momentarily. So signed up to make general public comments. We'll go back to the top. Tara Sinkovich. I can. Yeah, and is it Beek Abbott? Is Beek Abbott?
Bo Abbott.
Bo Abbott,
Bo.
sorry. Bo here?
He asked me to sign him up,
Oh,
but I didn't realize he couldn't
well, that's
speak.
fine. Okay, Tara?
Tara Sinkovich, Town of Poetry. So thank you for that report, Tom. I guess on the Bishop Airfield matter, one of the questions that come to mind is, okay, in this Miss Mindy Combe, I have met her. And in the 300 MUDs that she's declaring have been passed, how many of those, a question for her is, how many of those have had a fuel storage tanks containing jet fuel underneath them? I'd like to know the data on that. Seriously. And then secondly, with the proposed 6 water wells drilling into the Natchitoches Aquifer with potentially serving 8,000 new residents, how is that going to affect the residents downstream from that? Is there a water pressure going to go to nothing? But I feel like that is very critical for all those citizens downstream of that. 8,000 new citizens taking water daily from an aquifer that may or may not be sufficient, we don't know. And that's the only water source that these people have. There is no city water available to many of the people who are on these wells and have been for generations. So that's another concern. And I find it really interesting that she didn't know anything about the fuel storage tanks. How did she not know?
Right.
I don't know. Anyway, you hate to just roll over. There's some definite things. I think, those 2 issues are pretty key to this whole matter. Maybe there is a case, maybe there isn't, but those are definitely things that are very concerning, not to mention all the others that Tom mentioned. So thank you.
Thank you, Tara. Simeon White?
Well, I guess I could talk briefly about the PNC here, or would you rather me wait till get to the public hearing?
Wait, say again, start over?
I said I was just gonna talk about the PNZ for a second, but you want me to wait till the public hearing to do that?
It's up to you. We're going to be in that meeting in just a few minutes, so it's up to
Okay.
you.
Well, hey, I'll address it now then, and if y'all don't have any questions, I'll head out.
And you can, technically, you can speak on anything you want for 3 minutes. So you can talk about your favorite music, you can talk about PNC. So but we're not going to respond, but you have the
Right.
microphone for 3 minutes.
Are you
Oh,
fixing
the
to go to
temptation.
Jamaica?
Huh?
Are you going to Jamaica?
Come on, sooner he starts,
Oh, you
sooner he's
know
done.
If it's
Yeah,
left.
exactly. Get it over with, right?
No, it's all good.
Simeon White, live off of 1565 rather. Just real quick about the PNC. Y'all probably already know this, but since it's the first time it came for variance, I thought I'd just kind of let y'all know a little bit about the research that we prepped in preparation for this document. And pretty much the summation of it is we can't give out variances willy-nilly because it's discriminatory to give them to some people and not others unless it complies. We actually have limited powers as a non-chartered general rule instead of a home rule. So we probably have some citizens and some councils that are very familiar with how chartered towns would work. They have a lot more power on this sort of thing. We're rather restricted, and it's covered in 211.009. For anybody that wants to look it up, I've got it on that little paper that I gave you, Mr. Mike, and I'll give you this one as well once I'm done with it. But it pretty much says that to authorize any specific cases of variance from the terms of zoning ordinance, it has to not be contrary to public interest, due to special conditions, and would result in unnecessary hardships, and be within the spirit of the ordinance. pretty much this particular case is in conflict with pretty much every single one of those. First of all, it doesn't have any unnecessary hardships as shown later on, but we can get into that for a second. It also is contrary to public interest and against the spirit of the ordinance as stated by our mission statement that we approved prior to this ordinance, the one that was attached to that original map, if you remember. So it is directly contrary because we talked about not wanting to subdivide land up very small, pretty much this exact case. It's been stated that public interest is opposed to this. So it also is not due for any special considerations. This is pretty standard circumstance as far as subdivision. But even more importantly than that, it doesn't have any unnecessary hardships, which is listed in B-1. Hardships would be something like the financial cost of compliance is greater than 50% of the appraisal value of the structure. There's no structure, doesn't have anything to do with it. Compliance would result in the loss of the structure locating at least 25% of the area. Again, there's no structure right now. Compliance would result in the structure not being in compliance with the requirements of the municipal ordinance. Again, doesn't have to do with it. Compliance would result in unreasonable encroachment on an adjacent property. No, it's actually the opposite in this. It would result in it. Or municipal consideration to the structure to be a non-conforming structure. Again, this isn't the case in this one. So pretty much doesn't meet any of the requirements that Texas has given us for issuing a variance in our case. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We're a little bit handcuffed because we're general rule and, you know, we can't show favor to these people over others. So that's pretty much it, unless y'all need anything from me.
Nope.
Thank
No, thanks, Simeon. Okay, Jonathan Blake.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you.
I would have made more thoughts.
On the Bishop Field matter, I would encourage you to set a meeting as soon as possible so that y'all can vote on this matter. I agree with Tom. It's imminent and y'all need to take action. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, so that wraps up our regular agenda. I'm going to call that part of the meeting closed at 6:37. Let's do a 3 or 4 minute recess, bathroom break, stretch break, whatever, and we'll come back and open up the hearing.
The bingo thing, y'all missed it.
I know, like I said, I heard something was a big success.
Oh, it was huge.
Bingo?
I mean, typically the way it is, I think that's a valid reason. According to the state of Texas.
Well, the officer goes all the way from Arkansas to Texas, and it's one, I mean, it is, I think they should at least do a study to see it, because that's not just one individual.
Excuse me.
Well, this is a property rights bill. You know, Austin, you and I were looking out here for it. They're
But I was thinking about that as we discussed.
yeah, there's only like 3 things you can use it for, but that is one of them. Personnel issues, they get one of them right.
That's why I mentioned it, so that's why I know. Just some integrity, personnel,
But you're still gonna come out and talk about it. You do. You'd be able I think it's best to have a pipeline.
That's really water.
That's an issue.
See, I like to be high.
I like to be.
I wonder why you're sitting so high in my.
I do like to cross my legs too. I'm a leg crosser.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's right. And the lady lived right down the road. Was there a term? No, she's right. You're not going to stop.
The first time they fill those treatment pools down there, I think that must be it's right on the aquifer, the first time they fill up with the mud. Oh, but it'll be surge tank, I'm almost certain. And so then as usage happens, it's like popping it off, that really bit. I don't think it'll be.
You know, I forgot to mention when I talked to the other day, the Nacogdoches Act, but that's important for different reasons.
Right,
I will.
right.
So I had notes.
I don't
David,
think
do we
it's
up?
Have an effect on downstream people, because other than that first.
Okay, if we can get everybody to sit back down, settle back down, and we're missing one, but he'll be here in a minute.
First sergeant.
Do what?
First sergeant.
Well, I got how many taps on my little thing here, son. So it says one tap is vote results, be seated, or adjournment. So that was to be seated, in case anybody's wondering. I'm trying to follow the rules.
That's okay.
Apparently this hammer has rules attached to it. Who knew? Okay, as soon as Councilman Kendrick gets back, we'll officially open the zoning board of adjustment hearing. It's not open yet. Waiting. No pressure, Doug. Okay, it's 6:42. Let's turn the hearing aids down. Okay, so 6:42. So we are going back to item B Bravo on the agenda. Apologize for being a few minutes late. This is the Zoning Board of Adjustment hearing agenda. So as you remember at last meeting, we officially declared ourselves, the town council, as the Board of Adjustment for zoning. Just so you remember the rules, the mayor does not vote, right? So it's the 5 of you that are the Board of Adjustment, not me. I just run the meeting and keep things under control. The decisions of the Board of Adjustment require a minimum of 4 votes, right? So it takes at least 4 of you, whereas our normal business takes 3. In the case of Board of Adjustment variances, it takes 4. So at least 4 of you need to agree on, and not just tonight, but as we go forward on handling these things. A couple of statements, and these were made earlier by a citizen, but I'm going to restate them for the record. It's vitally important that this process is impartial, right? So we want to make sure in all of our dealings with zoning that it's to me, another way of saying that is the process is blind, right? We're not it's because it's a friend, neighbor, like, dislike, whatever. We're gonna make the best decision we can, no matter what. So we want to make our decisions based on fact, not emotions. I shared with council a document that our attorney produced for Double Oak, I guess it's a town that he represents, and it was all about zoning. And I'm going to read a couple of pieces of that because I think they're important as we start this journey. So a variance is defined as permission to depart from the literal requirements of a zoning ordinance by virtue of unique and unnecessary hardship due to special circumstances regarding a person's property. It is a relaxation of the strict requirements of the zoning ordinance. An administrative official of a town cannot approve a variance, right? It requires the Board of Adjustment to do that. Key in that sentence or sentences is the unnecessary hardship. So and we'll get into that in a second, but it's basically something that the person that owns the property doesn't have a lot of control over. The theory behind variances is to relax the strict requirements of the zoning ordinance in situations in which, because of an unusual feature of the property not common to other properties in the area, strict application of zoning regulations will result in unnecessary hardship. Variances relate to technical zoning matters such as area, setback, and height regulations. Variances are restricted to relaxation of these technical regulations. A variance cannot change the category of a zone, for example. That's a whole separate set of actions. The Board of Adjustment is not allowed to do that. Variances are permissible only if strict application of the zoning ordinance would cause unnecessary hardship. When considering applications for variances, the board should require some evidence of hardship. We're going to hear that tonight. The applicant has the burden of proving a property hardship and that the granting of the variance will not be contrary to the public interest. As was stated earlier, it's important when we talk about variances that we consider the neighborhood that's going to be affected by this, right? So are we changing the essence? Are we changing the look and feel of the neighborhood by what it is that we're about to approve, right? If it's a bunch of little one-story houses, I'm making this up, and we approve a 6-story building, I mean, that would clearly be a violation of sort of the spirit of what that neighborhood is trying to do. A variance is not authorized merely to accommodate the highest and best use of the property, but when the zoning ordinance does not permit any reasonable use of the lot. Special conditions means that the property is not suitable for development strictly according to the zoning regulations. Okay, next, when determining whether or not a hardship exists, the board, that's you guys and gals, should consider the following. 1, whether the hardship is self-imposed by the owner or a predecessor entitled to the property. 2, whether the hardship is unique to the property, size, shape, topography of lot or tract. Number 3, whether the hardship is financial in nature. And finally, number 4, whether the hardship is nothing more than a claim that the property cannot be used for its highest and best use or is merely a frustrated development objective. Okay, so those are for lack of a better word, and I say those for the benefit of the citizens. Again, reminding you, this council cannot talk unless we're sitting here in front of you in a meeting, right? We're not allowed to just gather up around the fire and talk about these things. That's a huge violation of the open meetings law, which is meant to protect the citizens against people going into back rooms and making deals. So there have been no backroom conversations. We haven't discussed this. I've talked only with Tom and Dale personally about it a little bit because we've been working on zoning stuff together, but it hasn't gone to Doug or Tracy or Terry. So they're hearing some of this in a coordinated fashion for the first time. So I want to make sure that we understand what our objective is, what it is that we're trying to do, because it is a big responsibility. And I think, as was said earlier, it makes a difference, right? We're sort of starting off on this journey, and I just want to make sure we start off in on the right foot. So up on the screen, hopefully, is a picture of the property that we're talking about. So Hidden Oaks is a 3-phase development, planned development, that is in sort of northwest Poetry, up off of 2440. We're talking about Hidden Oaks Estates 3 in particular tonight, but it was done in phases, apparently, in the little bit of looking back that I've done. And so you can see, I'm going to show, well, let's see here. Okay, so there's a picture of Hidden Oaks Estate 3. And we're going to be talking about this piece of property here, lot number 23. And so you can kind of see the neighborhood and what it looks like. You can see the acreages, 3.83, 3.46, 2.5, 2. It seems like they tried to stay 2 to 3 acres, something like that when they split it up. The property we're discussing tonight is exactly 2 acres, 2.0. Again, it's lot number 23. And we'll dig into that in a second. The variance request that's being made is that the current owner would like permission to split that lot into 2 1-acre properties. And we're going to hear their reasons and what they feel like the difficulty, the unnecessary hardship is. Our job, your job as the Board of Adjustment is simply, we don't want to get into discussion about things that are not the responsibility of the town of Poetry. So we're not going to talk about sewage. That's not our responsibility. The county takes care of that for us. We're not going to talk about what they're going to build or whether it'd be nice or any of that. We're not allowed to do any kind of a conditional approval of anything. It's based on the facts as they sit right here tonight. So your job is to know, and I know you're pretty knowledgeable of our zoning ordinance, what this request is against the criteria set out in our zoning ordinance with regards to setbacks, lot dimensions, acreage, so on and so forth. And our job, your job, is simply to decide whether this meets the conditions of our zoning ordinance, right? Does it fall right in which case they don't even need to be here, or does it not meet it? And is the reason it doesn't meet it something that's not their fault? Right? Something that it's a weird shaped property, or it's, on the side of a mountain. I don't know. There could be any number of things. And if that were the case, then the Board of Adjustment, U5, have the ability to consider a deviation from the ordinance. But we want to remember that the ordinance was laid out to try and protect and maintain, the integrity of the town and the look and feel of areas. We have, I'll put up here this as a reminder. This is the zoning map, right? So the colors mean different things. Green is agricultural, purple is single family, pink I think is single family estates. And basically those zones have to do with the type of development that is allowed to occur in those areas, right? So if you're in a purple, which is single family, the rules are you only get 1 house, it's 1 acre or more, so on and so forth. Single family estate is a little bit bigger. The Board of Adjustment has no authority to change the color of anything on this map. You cannot, okay? So all you can do is say, okay, today it's purple, and I'll zoom in here, and this is the property we're talking about right here. Today it's purple, so it's single family. So when you look in the ordinance, you have to look up single family criteria and determine whether it does or doesn't meet and whether this variance is warranted. But again, we are not changing the classification. That's a much bigger thing. And of course, for obvious reasons, I would think, because you don't want to live in a neighborhood and suddenly find out they turned the lot next to you into heavy industrial or something, and there's like a manufacturing company moving in next week, right? So you want to know that, okay, I live in a single family district or a single family estates, and it's going to stay this way unless a really complicated process starts where we have to put signs out and have multiple hearings and put it in the paper. We are not doing that tonight. All we're trying to do is figure out whether this request meets the threshold of a hardship that is not the fault of the owner. So I think we have, sir, you're going to speak for this gentleman as the property owner?
Wait, we got to give all this other stuff.
What? Oh, go ahead.
Okay, the site is zoned single family, so we don't have a zoning issue. It's part of the Hidden Oaks development, and they have deed restrictions, and all of you have copies of the deed restrictions. Deed restriction is they're absent of the ability, they're silent on the ability to subdivide. Let's see, it was improved with a double wide mobile home and a room addition, which is all has been removed. Yeah, let's look at this. Has been removed. The very top northeast, there's a little sliver of land that is in the ETJ, but basically the entire usable amount of that lot is entirely in the city. Okay. The idea is to split it up. Lot 23A is just a little short of 150 feet on
149.48.
right. On the other side, it would meet the 100 because we have 150-foot front feet minimum for a single family lot.
Right, and there's a road here and a road here, so
Right, so
it's
it's a
wrapped
corner.
by two
Right.
roads.
So, and that's in theory, if the house faced 2440, half of the lot would be compliant, but 23B would still not be compliant. But if you're facing both of them on 2452, then they would both need the variance. The intent is to build 2 single-family homes, stick-built homes on the lot. And that's it.
Okay, and again, the board cannot consider what's gonna be done with it, right? We're talking about the property, because, and I'm not picking on the people that are here tonight, this will be for any of these situations. The person would have no obligation to do what they told us they were gonna do, right? So they could say, we're gonna build beautiful homes, and then they put in something completely different. Okay, so as a reminder, 2 things. One, Dale brought up the issue of covenants or deed restrictions. There are very, very, very rare cases where a town is named in a deed restriction as one of the parties. 99.9% of the time, towns have no part in deed restrictions, right? That's between the owner of the property and the neighborhood, whoever it is that's enforcing the deed restriction. So I think it's a good idea for the property owners to know what their deed restrictions are, but we here for the town of Poetry are only interested in enforcing our zoning ordinance and nothing more. So as a reminder, on the single family, Terry, keep me honest here, our minimum lot width is 150 feet and our minimum lot depth is 200 feet. Right, so it would have to be this or any other property, 150 by 200 minimum, and 1 acre. Right, and then setbacks, but that's more when they get to building something. But the lot itself needs to be at least 150 by 200. So your challenge is to decide, so this is almost 150, it's only a couple of inches short. The other side it's a curve, so it's slightly more, but it's going to be something just over 272 feet on the other side. So it would meet that. This lot, because it only has the opportunity to face this road, 2452 is 113.37, and don't get me started on why it looks like this one's longer than that one. And we checked with a survey company, they said it's correct, so I can't explain it. I'm going with their number, which says this lot, as it's laid out here, would be 113.37 feet wide. That would be considered its frontage because that's the road. There is no road on the side or the back. So this property, so the challenge we have is the dimension of this frontage. This one and this are right there at the numbers they need to be at.
I mean, if I'm reading that correctly, it says the north end of that, northeast end, is 143.95.
0.95, that's correct.
How is it, I don't get the design, because that looks more like an oblong.
Well,
It's because it's done using GPS, but if you go, which I have, if you'd like to see it, if you go to the plat, that kind of clears that up. I have checked all of those dimensions, match up with the exterior dimensions of the lot split. So that's all. But if you'd like to see it, here it is. And I brought a magnifying glass. If you need.
so again, we're talking about
That
this property right here.
Right.
Okay, you good?
Yep.
Okay, Board of Adjustment, do you have any conversation you want to have before we invite the gentleman up to talk about the hardship?
Just a question on that other map, you had the black lines. Did you draw those in or what did they represent?
Easements. I think.
Utility easements.
Easements.
These are easements. Yeah.
No.
15-foot
the one
utility
that had
easement.
this- No, backing up, it had the overview of Hidden Oaks.
Oh,
That, yeah, you were there. There's one
Next
more
one. Next one, that one.
there. What are those,
that's the zoning map block.
Well, this is our zoning map, right? So this is the
Yeah.
town boundary,
okay,
right? So that's just showing. And so this road, 2440 comes down. The property we're discussing tonight is right here.
uh-huh.
And then you leave the town for a few feet and then you re-enter the town at 2468.
so
So
those
this
black-
is the town.
Black lines are the town.
That's
boundary.
correct. That's the town boundary. And it's, yeah, I'm not going to tell you that that's exactly where it is. It's plus or minus.
Plus or minus what?
We're not going to have that conversation.
It's only a map.
118 feet. That's the legally defensive map we have.
Right. Well, right. We're, yeah.
118 feet. We have a survey to prove it.
Okay.
Because my first thought was they have ETJ, they can do what they want in ETJ.
Right.
But when you pull up the survey, we actually go 18 feet on the other side of that property. So the next
On the
lot
south
is
side.
actually
Right. So this line is really over here slightly.
Right.
Yeah.
Now,
Okay. Well, we're dealing with the part that's in the town because it's, I am led to believe it's entirely in the town, but certainly the majority of it is in the town. We do not, for the record, we do not have
So that.
any jurisdiction over ETJ. We cannot regulate the ETJ. We cannot make statements about the ETJ. We can only regulate what's in the town boundary. So
Okay, thank you.
that's where we're at.
But my question would be, if that's part of an ATJ, doesn't that cut into the footage of that lot? For us to address? Okay,
No.
just throwing it out there.
Okay, you ready to hear from the gentleman?
Yeah.
Okay, you want to stand up and introduce yourself and share what you know?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor,
You're welcome.
council members, and fine citizens of Poetry. My name is Adrian Sines. I'm with Exit Realty out of Quinlan.
What's your last name? Can you spell it?
Sines, S-A-E-N-Z.
I would have never guessed that.
Yeah,
Thank you for spelling it.
you're welcome. We're here representing Navarro Contractors. Mr. Efren Navarro's here with me. And a few months ago, how many months ago, Mr. Navarro bought the lot in question here and what we're looking at. And prior to doing that, of course, we try to do our due diligence as best we can when we're looking at properties and with, of course, some forethought on what the property's value might be should we proceed with some sort of development of that. When Mr. Navarro bought the property, it had a kind of failing double wide mobile home on it. And I don't know if you are familiar with it, but it was in pretty bad condition. And his thought was originally was, well, maybe I can fix it up and, make it into a residence. But the more we looked at the property and the value that it might bring in what we do with it, the more we thought about separating the lot. Again, I go back to do my due diligence with Hunt County. I go through the development committee at Hunt County through email just to ask their permission about splitting it. And they're like, oh yeah, no problem. Do a plat and we'll go through the steps. We'll get it approved and whatnot. So Mr. Navarro spent the money, had it replatted, and has before you now what came in as his replat. So we submit it to the county and they're like, well, you need to take it to the town of Poetry. And I'm like, okay, well, what's changed since the time we asked for the replat? And they were like, well, we didn't know it was in the town of Poetry. I don't know how they didn't know. Nevertheless, here we are approaching you on behalf of this request to replat. And I realize as we have kind of delved a little bit deeper into this, that what is now considered or called a hardship, as it were, is I guess, a little bit harder to explain in this case, other than we're like on the other side of having made the investment to develop something that now seems to be impeded a little bit here without being able to do this. Because obviously, putting another house back on the lot as it is right now becomes an issue of, just simply doing what was already there before. And Mr. Navarro's plan was to actually make improvements that were not only beneficial to whoever decided to come and buy there, obviously, but also for himself. He's a businessman. This is what he does, Mr. Navarro's been in the business for 30 years. He's a contractor. His business mostly focuses on drywall and interior design, but he's also worked with other contractors in investments like this, where they buy, add, improve, and then sell. And so that's why we're here before you now, is just to, I guess, maybe set in front of you what we have learned since we started the process, and kind of state our case and say, we'd love to be able to do this, but the more you guys explain what the hardship actually stands for, it seems to be like,
Well, just so you know, it's not the town of Poetry. We're not picking on you, as was
No,
said
no.
earlier by the citizen. I mean, that's how the law works.
right.
Right, we're simply trying to follow the law, so.
And we were not aware of the ordinances for the town of Poetry. That would have been probably some of the background that would have come into the thought of even investing in it in the first place. We do believe that the town of Poetry is a great place to invest. It is a nice community. I myself live here in Rockwall, and Mr. Navarro lives here in Royce City, close by. So we know the area very well. And so when he chooses kind of where he wants to put his money, it's usually in places where he feels like the development is kind of mutually beneficial. Not only will it improve where it sits, but also help him in his business ventures. So that's why we're here in front of you, and appreciate you guys listening to us tonight. We certainly don't want to drag this thing out, but certainly want to state our case and appreciate the opportunity.
Good. Stay put for just a second. Council, do we have any individual questions for Adrian?
Well, yeah, I guess into the hardship, could you address that? How is
Well,
there a hardship here?
when we were looking at what sells in the town of Poetry, and when you look at those numbers, you look at, for instance, even just in the subdivision, you got the Hidden Oaks
Estates.
subdivision up right
Hidden
there.
Oaks.
You'll notice that even various of these sites are already have more than one dwelling on them. What we have found with properties where you make improvements, and this is in a lot of areas, it's not just here. I work in Princeton, I work in other areas where people are doing this, even on 1 acre lots, they're putting multiple homes. The people that live and originally look to improve their property sometimes think of it as, oh, I'm going to add another house and maybe my in-laws can live there, or whoever, another family member. But the problem we find with that is that as the properties age out, or what we call it age out, but I'm sure there's probably a good technical term for it, when it gets to the point where it's going to change hands, now you've got the situation where the selling party isn't the only one involved. Now you may have someone who has moved in as a renter or something like that into that second structure, and now you can't sell it without it becoming kind of detrimental. And so to us, it almost looks like we're kind of tied at this point to put another single structure on it, and then it becomes just another one of those, like the ones you have out there that have multiple structures on them. There's not a huge benefit in putting more than one house on a lot, regardless of the size of it, in the long run. It's probably great for now, or for as long as the family is there, but once they age out, then you're like, okay, how are we going to sell this? Well, mom and dad are no longer here. It becomes a difficult thing. So we look at it from a long-term point of view, and not just today's dollars.
So let me ask you a question.
Yes.
I see that it was filed with Hunt County on the May the 14th. Is that a current date?
No. What are you
Um,
looking at? That's not, no, this is
Oh, that
this
was-
is when the
That's the
development
original
was
plan.
created.
Have you
1982.
turned your survey into Hunt County yet?
We did, but they kicked it back and said to bring it
Okay.
here.
All right.
Because, and they do that with everything that falls inside a jurisdiction that
Sure.
is town or city. Yeah, this thing was actually done, recently.
Yeah,
more
I've got a
recent-
picture of the full one somewhere. I just don't.
Right here's a paper copy.
Here it is.
Dates.
8/18/2025 is when the surveyor stamped it.
Yep,
Bottom
that's what
right.
it is.
Where? Oh, I see it. Right down there. Okay.
I don't know why that's not showing on the screen, but okay.
What was the purchase date of the property by Mr. Navarro?
¿Cuándo lo compraron? I want to say, yeah, maybe August, no, I think it was late July, maybe.
So it's pretty recent.
Yeah, it was this year. It was definitely earlier this year.
Okay.
I should have prepared for that question. I apologize.
No,
So he bought the property with a house that couldn't be lived in?
Yeah, it definitely could not, it was being lived in, but when I went in to look at it, I mean, I don't know how, because there was, the roof was coming in, there's water coming into it, it was not livable, but someone made it livable, I guess.
okay.
Unfortunately, you know, in our ordinance 13.6, it says single family resident districts. A lot shall have no more than one main building per 2.5 acres. You know, so we're kind of,
Well, I think Adrian's point, and it's rightfully made, if you drive that road, there are a number of them that have more than one.
Oh, yeah.
And the ordinance contemplated that and basically grandfathers in, right? So the zoning ordinance went into effect a year and a half ago or so. So that point in time
Yeah.
was the beginning of compliance requirement against the ordinance, right? We're not going to go back and retroactively make, so we basically grandfathered, we said, okay, on that date, every structure and situation that exists in the town is okay, although it may not be conforming, which may restrict their ability in the future to add to it or replace it if it burns down, but any new stuff, which is where you're falling in, or Mr. Navarro is falling in, needs to comply with the ordinance. So I know it's a little frustrating because you look around and you're like, well, they aren't. Well, but they've been there a long time, right?
Right.
This
Andre,
is-
have you had a chance to look over our planning and zoning ordinance?
Yes, I did. Only after the fact, obviously. I
Right.
didn't even know they exist or that we'd fall in your jurisdiction.
Right.
Another thing to your point, Councilwoman Hibbs, is as I look at some of the properties where people built multiple homes, I don't know if at the time they were required to adhere to the other things like setbacks and, you know, places you can build versus you can't build on those given lots. So that's the other thing that happens whenever a person gets ready to sell, is if the structure is outside of where it needs to be on a given lot.
Right.
It becomes another issue in the sale of the property or the improvement thereof, whatever you want to call it. And so what Mr. Navarro is trying to do is get ahead of that by not doing something that wouldn't work, and then later on finding out, oh, that's.
Well, I think he can do something that works. It might not be what to his liking, but I think he can find something that works.
Oh, yeah. Well, ultimately, you know, he
Yeah.
still has one lot. He could always build a house.
Right.
So, just so you know, we were incorporated in 2020.
I understand that, yes,
And
ma'am.
so, you know, we have rules and laws that we have to go by as a town, and we must follow our comprehensive zoning plan. So,
Okay, well, let's shift over. I'm going to call you by your first name because I don't want to slaughter your last name. Thank you, Adrian. We may ask you back up if somebody has a question, but let's
Certainly.
jump over to the citizens who signed up to speak on this hearing. We'll just start in the middle. Simeon White. He's gone? Okay. So Simeon passes. Scott Lehue?
Pass.
Okay. Tarasekovich? And Jonathan, you're up next.
Hi, Tara Sinkovich, Town of Poetry. So, Adrian, is your client's first name Efren? Okay. So I know that the council and the board cannot mention the structures, but I will notice that Efren and Sylvia Navarro are owners of Navarro Contractors LLC. They have a 5,500 square foot home in Royce City on 26.6 acres. Hunt County says it is worth $906,690. It has two metal buildings on the property. One is 2,400 square feet and the other is 936 square feet. So I don't see like a financial hardship here. Now it may be very inconvenient, but it seems like neither one of the lots are really compliant with our current zoning ordinance. So I really hope the Board of Adjustment will deny this, even though I did drive by out of curiosity, and I do have compassion. I have property as well, and I have to comply with the zoning. And, in Poetry, we have a lot of ranches and ranchettes, and we have beautiful green space that we want to keep the integrity. And I think that's a lot of us who put a lot of hard work into some of this is, it's not to be discompassionate. It is to keep the integrity of what we have. And I did drive by on the lot, and you probably did make an improvement already by getting rid of the devil eye that was apparently dilapidating. And however, the lot has a beautiful, beautiful oak tree. And I think it could make someone a beautiful 2-acre site. And that is perfectly feasible. And we welcome that. As a citizen, I welcome that. So I don't think you'll have any problem. It is a very desirable area. And so I don't think you're going to lose anything on your investment. It's just my take. I don't know what you paid for it exactly, but the land is very desirable here, and it could be a very beautiful home site for somebody. So.
Okay, thank you, Tara. Jonathan?
Jonathan Blake, Poetry, Texas. I have sympathy for his situation, but as I see it, what Simeon said, and I worked with him when we were doing this planning and zoning, and your hands are really tied that you don't have the authority to really change anything. So I think your only choice is to deny it. That's all.
Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, Adrian, you want to make any closing remarks here? I think we're kind of coming to the end. You got anybody else in the audience? I mean, we're doing okay on time. Anybody else just feel like led to come up and get on the recording? I mean, I feel like we've said everything that needed to be said. You good? Okay, council, any final shot? Again, to remind us, because this is, we're early in this zoning adventure. I mean, we're going to love a lot of the people that come through here and we're talking about these things with, but we've got to do it strictly by the ordinance. Legally, a lot of things I'll go to jail for. This ain't one of them. So we're going to follow the rules. You 5 are in charge. I feel for the gentleman and the journey they've been on, but it doesn't matter how big his house is. It's this piece of property and what he wants to do. Is it okay or is it not okay? And if it's not okay, is it because of something that's completely out of his control, which is not what I've heard. It's just a desire, not a true hardship. So do we have any? You're going to vote on it in just a minute. Any other discussion though?
Yeah, Mike, is Mr. Berman been approached about this issue?
Mm-hmm.
Can you say what he said?
Yeah, sure.
Report.
I'm glad you asked. I printed his email. I printed it somewhere. Stand by.
And Mr. Berman is our town attorney.
Right.
You're so organized. You don't know.
Well, I am organized, but I'm too organized. Okay, I'm just going to read it off my phone.
And if you note the note on appendix 1B says, no lot existing at the time of passage of this ordinance shall be reduced in area below the minimum requirements outlined in the respective district.
Again, we're just,
Yeah,
I guess, absent of that knowledge
I
at the
understand.
time.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay, so I said lots of things, giving him a setup on what we're doing tonight, which you've already heard. He says, I don't see the hardship. These are the words of David Berman, our attorney. You preside over the meeting, participate in discussion, but you don't vote. Council's vote must be a supermajority, at least 4 affirmative votes to grant the variance. Make sure you give the applicant a full and fair opportunity to present his application. Council members should be allowed to ask questions.
Oh, sorry, what? Should be low?
Should be allowed to ask questions, which
Okay.
we've done. We've given him every opportunity, including a chance to stand back up. We've discussed it. We've got citizen input. But his words, and I described it and I gave him all the documents. He said, I don't see the hardship. Again, it's not a sort of self-declared hardship. It's some hardship that's outside of your control. So I think it's a circumstantial thing, but it's not, it doesn't meet the criteria, in my opinion. I'm not voting, but in my opinion, it doesn't meet the criteria of a variance hardship as the law declares it, so.
This is a very hard decision. It's very hard.
You know, one thing
Could
I,
I undo my pass and ask a question? Could
Yeah.
I undo my
Yeah.
pass, but can I ask?
Yeah, good.
We gotta get a variance on it.
Story of my life. Scott Leahy, Town of Poetry. I'm just curious, and again, I am sympathetic to the situation, but is there a way to ensure that Hunt County defers to the Town of Poetry from the beginning anytime someone's asking for a replat?
Yes, short answer, yes. Longer answer, we're going back through our 1445 agreements with the county line by line to make sure they understand where the handoffs are, where the overlaps are, et cetera. So yes,
Thank you.
we're going to do everything in our power to try to avoid this happening in the future. You know, we're a young town. They're still getting used to us being a town. I mean, there's still some.
Well, if you wanted to do a scorecard on this, I've come across that on our street where citizens or people have gone to the county and the county's going like, oh yeah, that's in the county, no problem. And then it turns around. So it's happening. That county is being asked questions and they're going like, oh yeah, it's in the county and so forth, so on. So it is becoming an issue for discussion.
Okay, so as you saw the property and the proposed split, the replat, again, what you're determining here is clearly it does not meet the criteria as it lays out of our ordinance, right? So it doesn't fit the ordinance. The ask is to waive the parts that it doesn't, for lack of a better word, and I'm not being flippant, I'm just kind of paraphrasing. And so, Board of Adjustment, your job is to decide whether you believe there's evidence of a hardship, again, as we described, not because his plans were different and he doesn't want them to change, but because there's some reason that he can't meet that because of some oddity to the property or something like that. So,
And Mike, I believe there's a statement that says you can't do it because of just economic increase in value, or I can't
whether
remember
the hardship is nothing more than a claim that the property cannot be used for its highest and best use or is merely frustrated development objective.
That's the statement.
And I think
yeah.
that's what we've done. We frustrated his development objective,
I see.
would be my translation of all this.
Okay, well, yeah.
Okay, so we've done with discussion. Very satisfied? Adrian, do you feel like you've got every opportunity to make your case?
yes, I do. Like I said, I think looking at it from the real estate side of things, it's just, I understand the ordinance situation. Looking at it from the real estate side of it, I think, okay, the one thing you always want to not miss is, just because it's always been done this way, doesn't mean it can't change, in other words.
Right.
But I understand, again, respect what you guys have ordinances, you have to.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, Board of Adjustment, again, I'm here running the meeting. I don't get a vote, so I'm going to call for a vote on this variance request for Hidden Oaks Estates 3, property located at 10442 County Road 2440. All in favor of granting the variance? Okay, we have 1-4. All in favor of denying? Okay. Okay, variance is denied. Hearing is closed at 7:25. We're calling it.